Okay. Why is it not here? Because I can see it. All right, let's go to this advanced share. Well, it says the same thing. You can see it. You can see, okay. It's supposed to be there. All right, let me try. Let's see. Do I got to recall it up in here? Let me see. Maker, immerse, full screen. Take that down. Okay. Oh, all right. Apps. Okay, let me try this. I think I'm just going to go ahead and turn it off and turn it back on again. See if I can bring it up that way. Okay, go there. Come here. And it didn't come up either here. Gosh darn it. Why does it work in one and now it doesn't work in the other? Oh, I am hating this thing. Next class, I've already been told I should be in Google, not in Zoom, because it's easier to go ahead and make these things work. I don't know why this is not working. All right, well, darn it, because I got public and private goods and the free wired and externality problem on here too. Apps. Can I do this? Nope. Last time I did it, all I did was put on the share screen and loaded the thing. Darn it. Oh, wait a minute. I think I got it. Can you see it now?
Yep.
All right. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
All right. So now I'm good. Okay. Okay. So median voter. All right. This is where we're taking a look at just, yes, I got to playing with this a little bit here so I can see. There we go. Okay. This is where in the primaries, we're doing these two, but in the general election, we come to the middle. All right. Now, does it work? Well, not when you have a country that is almost split right down the middle, and not just split like you can discuss it over the table at dinner, but split like you're going to have a fight if you try to discuss it. So that's the problem with this one here. Nobody wants to go ahead and work with the other side. It's all my way or the highway thing. So that's that's the reason that the median voter model is a problem, but that's the reason for it. Yeah, I'm not even going to get into this quadratic thing, but basically this quadratic voting they talked about, basically you purchase votes, which means the rich will go ahead and get whatever they want because they have more money to get vote coupons. So that's why we don't use this quadratic voting thing. All right, but the big part here is understanding that we can have a problem with we lose a benefit or we lose money because it's not benefiting society as a whole. And that's showing the inefficiency of majority when there's a no vote or the inefficiency of the majority vote if there's a yes vote. So nothing's perfect. So we work with the best we have, and that's going with the majority vote thing. All right. Public goods, private goods, and quasi-public. This was a question that came in. Not so much the private goods, everybody seemed to understand that, but this non-rivalry and non-exclusion part kind of came into the play. Also down at the bottom, the free rider problem. Well, free rider, all that means is once it's produced, everybody can use it. That's that non-exclusionary rule, right? There's no way to prevent anybody, even if they don't pay taxes, even if they're not a citizen, if they are here and you have a heart attack at the mall, the EMS unit comes and gets you and takes you to the hospital, period. So that's what ends up happening with this stuff. So that's what they mean by non-exclusionary. And it's also non-rivalry. It doesn't prevent another person from using it. Now, rivalry in this case, if we look over here at private goods, it means if you eat that hamburger and it's the last hamburger available, nobody else can eat it. That's what they mean by rivalry. One or the other gets it. But in public goods, such as stuff the government provides, like, you know, fire, EMS, all that kind of stuff, there is no non-rivalry, as people can use it all. All right. Now, quasi-public goods. Here's where there's a possible exclusion. It's paid for by the government, but businesses provide it. Basically, what happens is the government subsidizes that production, and it's to prevent this under allocation of resources. Roads, libraries, museums. We wouldn't have as many museums or libraries out there if the government didn't provide extra money for those museums and libraries, because people won't pay a lot of money to go to them, especially now that we got the internet. So these are some of the things that are there, but the free rider problem still abides. If it's something that a business cannot restrict you from, then you can use it, right? Libraries. You don't have a shirt, you don't have shoes, you can't be there. That's an example of they can exclude you from it by a different rule. And then the last of these slides, these are the two of the three main areas that we can go ahead and have a market inequities. All right. The first one is a negative externality. In other words, somebody goes ahead and makes something and gives it to something else. Externality has nothing to do with those two. But let's say it's a paper mill is the business, and the person wants paper, but anybody ever live next to a paper mill? Anybody remember how they smell?
Yes.
Yeah, they smell really bad. So the question is, there's also a health problem in there. Asthma, emphysema, these kind of things start upticking in areas that have that kind of pollution. But that health cost is not included in the cost of how much the paper costs and how much the paper is sold for. So the negative one, you know, we're taking a look at a cost passed to society. And in this case, the healthcare costs is an extra cost to production that's not there. Now, positive impact is something that we could use, but we want to make sure everybody can use it. The non-exclusion part of that would be like National Public Radio, NPR. You don't have to pay taxes to use it, but hey, it's still there. Now remember, this free rider problem is only, hey, if it's paid for and the government is providing it, everybody can use it, even if you didn't pay for it. You didn't have any taxes. Okay, let me see here. And make sure I got all this stuff in here. All right, we talked about laws, rules, and limits, although one other thing I want to put in there, remember, regulations add cost to a business. So if you do the profit formula, you know, profit equals revenue minus cost. Cost continues to go up if it goes up too much due to things the business has to do, such as buy and maintain pollution equipment. But what if we had them buy and maintain pollution equipment that really isn't the best equipment for their plant, but we use a government regulation that says you have to use this one, which, by the way, are out there. So it's raising the cost to the business more than it needs to. And if it goes up too far, they're not making a profit, and then the business goes away. And remember, business goes away, there's no product, there's no job and there's no retirement opportunity. So while regulations and rules are there for the benefit of society to make sure we're not being taken advantage of, other people tend to put rules on there that are way, way too inflexible and add too much cost, and it actually hurts society because now not only do we not have the product, but we don't have the job and we don't have investment opportunities for retirement. And that Pigovian tax, remember, that was just named after the guy that first looked into this taxing externality things. As a matter of fact, where is that? If you look on page 85, it also gives you an idea. Remember, negative externalities, there's a spillover cost, but it's overproduction. Positive externalities, a spillover benefit, but it's underproduction. So we need to go ahead and correct those. That kind of that's why those are there. It tells you what the problems are. And then there was a question on marginal cost, marginal benefit. All right, let's just assume this example down here. Let's say this red line here is the marginal benefit and this green line is the marginal cost. Remember, marginal just means what's the extra benefit in dollars if you get a second or a third or a fourth thing. The cost, what is the cost in dollars of getting a second or a third or a fourth thing? Because remember, when we start talking about cost, remember that opportunity cost. You pay for one, you can't do something else. So if you start here, you get a second thing, all right, it costs you some more money, but you also had something else that was an opportunity cost that increased the marginal cost of that product. In other words, you had to give up something for that product. You get another one and you had to give up something else until you finally get to the point where, the porridge is just right. Okay, if you get another one, if you go ahead and get another product, it actually costs you more to you, or in this case, to society, than it would be to get that next product. There's your benefit. Notice your cost increase higher. That's all these curves are telling you. So, again, it's maybe overthinking the problem. Just look at it as one is showing, because over here it shows the cost, and over here, down here, it shows the quantity. So as you get another one and another one and another one, your benefits go down and your opportunity costs go up. Think about it. I think my example in the video was hamburgers. Yep, one's good. Take that second one, it's almost as good. By the time you get to the 10th, you're ready to throw up. That's not a good benefit. So you get to the point where you go, I'm done with hamburgers. Let me go get something else, Alka-Seltzer or something like that. Okay, let me see. All right. Yeah, we talked about that one. And yep, we talked about that one. We talked about that one. Ooh, okay. We talked about all of them. All right. So let me go ahead and see if I can do this again by calling up the next one. Okay. That looks like it. All right. Let me get on that sheet. This one's a little bit easier and a little bit harder all at the same time, because we're looking at certain things here. Okay. See, let's try. Oops. Yeah. That one. Okay. All right. Yeah, we talked about a bunch of that stuff already. All right, let's take a look. Okay. All right. You guys see the macroeconomics one on there?
No, the externalities and free rider problem is still up.
Okay, so let me go ahead and make sure. See, how did I get that up last time? Oh, that's right. I went to apps. Okay. Okay, and I didn't write it. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. Nope, that's not it. All right. Okay. You know those yellow stickies I tell you guys about? Well, I'm going through the same thing right here. Ooh, no, I do not want to cancel the meeting. Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay. Yep, I want to share that one. All right, I got it. Now, can you see it?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Okay. If that happens again, say go to the top and hit new share. Okay. So remember macroeconomics. This chapter right here and this module is where we are actually starting to talk about macroeconomics. Everything before, that's the stuff you're supposed to learn in high school. All right. And well, why did we do all those? Well, because every economist that writes a textbook knows that hardly anybody remembers all that past stuff. And every textbook that is written about economics, whether it's macro or micro, has those chapters at the beginning because that's the foundation so we can understand all the rest of the stuff. All right. Remember, macroeconomics, we're looking at the behavior of our economy identified by indicators. Here's where we get GDP from. Here's where we're going to go into unemployment and inflation, which most of us are focused really good on inflation right now. Now, the key point is that our economy focuses on decisions made by the president, Congress, and the Federal Reserve, which is why we are looking at this particular thing. We need to know why, how the government operated. That's why we basically had that government 101 section and that kind of stuff. But also remember, horseshoes, hand grenades, and nuclear weapons. All we have to do is get close enough to get the job done. Several of you, when you went in and says, I don't believe the measures from GDP leave all that stuff out because it gets the job done. Now, when you get into the next chapter, when we start talking about the business cycle and the chapter after that, the aggregate demand, which are the two you're going to be doing this week. Yeah, the two you're going to be doing this week. You're going to go ahead and get the foundation for, oh, wait a minute. Those are the ones you did this week. Those two provide the foundation for what you're going to be going through this week, which is next week when we get into fiscal policy. All right. And let me get my head straight on here because I got a couple of classes. So sometimes I get confused in who's doing what when. So you're going to be doing the quiz. You're going to be doing the paper on the government and the GDP chapters. Then you're going to be going into the business cycle and the aggregate demand chapters. After that, we've got 3 more weeks and just 3 more chapters and just 3 more sets of videos, 1 each week. So everybody will be able to go ahead and catch up if you're behind. So if you're used to doing twice the amount of work, after next week, you'll have 3 weeks of just 1 chapter to do things. Okay. So this chapter starts about GDP. This is our long-term indicator. And in America, long-term means a year. If you look in our circular flow diagram, you know, this thing here, you'll notice that's where GDP is. It's in the business block. Business produces this stuff, all right? So that's what we're looking at right there, GDP. Now, the 4 parts of it. Now, here's where there was also a little bit of confusion because it talks about the total market value of all final goods and services produced in the US within a year. Now, this is production. This is literally the supply side of the supply and demand curve. So you got to remember that part. These 4 things kind of focus in on what we're looking to do. Now, the first one was this market value. And market value, all that means is what we, the households, are going to buy at the store. That's market value, whatever it happens to be. So when we say GDP of $22 trillion, that means the business block, these guys right here, made $22 trillion worth of stuff and put it in the product market. And if they did their research correctly, households spent $22 trillion and government spent $22 trillion and the rest of the world spent $22 trillion buying all that stuff. So that's where that comes into play. Now, the next question is, why do we not do intermediate goods and services and this thing of double counting? Oh, where'd it go? Okay, I'll just slide that over there. Okay. All right. Now, double counting. First off, remember there's 2 things here because somebody said, well, I don't understand the difference between the 2. Because a final and an intermediate product can be the same thing. It could be a sack of flour, right? That's the example I used. If households buy that sack of flour and take it home to make bread, then it's a final good or service. Anything that goes home is a final good. Anything that goes back to another business for further production is an intermediate. All right, so that bag of flour, let's say I don't know how to make bread, so I'm going to go ahead and go to the market to make bread, but here comes that flour. It has to go back to the bread company and a few other things to make that loaf of bread that comes down here so that I can spend my money and take the loaf of bread home. All right, so the first part is understanding the difference between these 2. An intermediate good or service goes back to another business to be in their production process. And here's where we start getting to that whole part of why we don't count it. Now, if you remember this from the video, this is what was going on, okay? Now, here's our production process. The first thing we had to do is we had to actually find the oil and we had to drill the oil. And that's what we did. But we had to pay a company money to buy, get the land that they're going to look at, get the labor that's going to go ahead and not only find it, but drill it, get the capital, the drilling machinery, the dynamite, so you can go look for it. And the owner of the company that went ahead and used their entrepreneurial ability to put all this together, those are all inputs. That's part of the cost part of our formula. All right. So in they go. Then, of course, they convert them, which is another cost to the company. And then there's an output. There's another cost to the company. Now, they also have to make a profit. So here's where I've got cost right here. There's a green C and a green S and a red O and a red T, because this is the production cost. The sale is going to include the little bit of money they need to make a profit so that they will continue to produce their product. Now, here is the next step, okay? We don't have the oil here in the US. It's over in Saudi Arabia. So again, they'll go ahead and do all their processes to ship the oil there, but the first thing they have to do is they have to buy those barrels of oil. Now, those barrels of oil included, those barrels of oil that they made for $1.70 a barrel included all of these costs. So in other words, that 170 is what we bought it for, but they also, here's their production cost to buy all the stuff they need to ship that oil here. That costs $53, or excuse me, 53 cents. If we went ahead and did this, our first input, the oil, we already paid 170 or $1.70 for it before we bought any of our other resources. So that oil that we got, you could take a look at that as either being land or capital or a combination of the two, but that was an input. So the oil is an input that's above these. So the total that the shipping company is now going to sell, because they're going to need to go ahead and make a profit, the 170 plus, let's back up here. Yep, there it is. The 170 plus their 53-cent profit means that they have to sell it for $2.23. All right, now let's take a look at that 223 again. If you remember, 170 of that was the cost of finding and drilling the oil. And then 53 cents was this cost, right? But it was the 53 cents plus the 170. And then if you remember, we're selling it again because just because we get it there, it's still oil in the ship. We got to refine it. And then once it's refined, it's now gas, but the gas is in Texas and we're in Florida. So we have to transport it here. And once it's transported here, we still need a gas station for you to go ahead and drive the car up to pump it in there. So each business is doing their production process, but buying this product from everybody else. Let me see, where's the sheet? Yeah, there it is. All right, looks like we got about 10 minutes left on this one. Right, so we added the value. This is the value added. The first company added this, the second company this, then the third company, the fourth company, the last company, and then of course Uncle Sam got their taxes. This 123, or excuse me, 223 represents this. So if we went ahead and added these two to the final product, we'd be adding this 170 twice. This one includes these two. And we'd actually, if we added it together, we'd be adding that 3 times now and this twice, 4 times, 3 times, twice, 5 times, 4 times, 3 times, twice, and so forth. So this 170, the original value that we added, because remember, until we purchased this thing and put it in our gas tank, we are doing intermediate products. It's still going back to the business to get produced. So here's our purchase price. If we added them all up, it'd be $13.27. But if we look at just the value that we added, that's the first company. The second company added this, that's the new value. The third company added this, that's the new value. The fourth company added this, that's the new value. The fifth company added this, that's the new value. Government slapped on some taxes. That's the final value, that's the price at the pump. So anybody have any question? Because this value added is normally a very difficult concept to kind of wrap your head around. So it's no problem that this is a problem here. Anybody have a problem with value added?
I don't think I have a problem, but I just want to clarify. You said that the final price that we sell at is once the government adds their tax.
Oh yeah. When you
To
go to
it,
the
okay.
when you go to the store and you go to Walmart and you buy most anything, because remember, the government has said some of this stuff we're not going to tax. But whatever we buy, it's never the price on the thing, or I shouldn't say never, but most of the time it's not the price on the thing, but it is the price and the tax. So government gets its fair share, whether it's federal, state, or local.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? So we're good. Okay.
Not good.
Not
Just trying
good.
to wrap my head. Just trying to wrap my head around it all.
That's all
But
right.
not good.
Okay. Just remember that that product that you buy, numerous companies have added value to it. Somebody made the box. Somebody may have made the plastic that went to the box. Somebody had to put the plastic, the box, and the thing into the box. So several companies have added value to the product until you finally get, here's the box, and that's how much it costs.
Okay.
So remember, the value added is the idea. You know, you come out, I want to produce this. The idea is great, but right now the idea by itself is worth nothing to somebody that wants the product. You have to go ahead and add value to it, or in other words, start producing this product till you get to the point where here is the finished product ready to be sold in Walmart. And that would be the 365 in this case. Okay. All right. Okay. Good. Okay. And why during a year? Because January through March, or let's do this, October through December, we're buying a lot of stuff. If we looked at October, November, and December and tried to look at January, February, and March and compare the two, we'd say, oh, the economy is crumbling in January, February, and March. Why? Well, in October, November, and December, we charged up the credit cards. January, February, and March, we're paying them off, so we're not buying stuff. And that is a general thing that happens every year. We pay taxes every year. Vacations start, summer vacations, school starts, right? All this thing happens every year. So that's why we look at not just the total market value of all final goods and services produced in the US, but within a year. And remember, we don't care if it's an American company or a German company or a Japanese company. If it's produced in the United States, most likely they're using United States raw materials, United States land, United States labor, United States capital, and to a certain part, United States entrepreneurial ability. So we don't care what company is, we just care where it's produced at. All right, so we're all good on the definition of gross domestic product. All right, I'll hear, seeing as how nobody's saying anything, I'll go, okay, sounds good. We got about 4 minutes left. So there's the definition. That's on one of the study sheets. Now, as to the formulas, don't even bother remembering the income formula. We don't use it. Okay, we use the expenditures formula very simply. If you take a look on, let me see, what is it here? Oh yeah, page 134 in your textbook at the bottom, you'll notice the income or allocations approach. Down at the bottom, it says statistical adjustment, because the government feels that we, the people, might not tell them how much money we actually make. All right, no laughing out there. But what they do is they give it a best guess as to how much we are undercounting our income.
You say page 134?
Oh, I'm sorry. I keep forgetting. I have the one chapter book. All right. It's in the measuring domestic output and national income chapter. I forgot this. This is where they go to different sheets. Yeah, I got it at chapter 7. I think yours was 23 or something like that. I can't remember which. but it's, let me see, 1, 2, 3, it's the 4th page in. And at the bottom, you've got a beige block and a green block. And the income approach is in the green block. And that's where it has that statistical adjustment. So anyway, we never use that. All right. We use the other one, the expenditures approach, because it talks about money spent. And here, the government doesn't even have a big thing about spending money, because businesses have to keep track of everything households buy. Why? Because they have to pay the taxes to the government. If businesses don't keep good records, business people go to jail. Businesses also have to keep track of all the money they spend. Why? Because of taxes. And if they are not keeping really good track, they go to jail. The rest of the world comes in as an export. Well, guess what? It goes into, when it comes in the US, an import-export house, which is a business that has to keep track of all of the money that is spent for taxes, or they go to jail. The only one of these three that doesn't do that much is government. Now, the government does buy stuff from the business, and they do keep track of it. But if government goofs up, they don't go to jail. They just go, oops, sorry, we tried our best. And if they made a really bad mistake, they go ahead and just raise our taxes to pay for it. So that's where why we use this, is because we look specifically at cost, and businesses keep track of it. Now, the neat thing about these 4 parts of our GDP formula is, if you notice, one of them, consumption by households, gross investment by business, government spending by government, and net exports, the foreign sector or the rest of the world, they are part of our circular flow diagram. So we can see how they go in, around, and about and about. Right? This is also where you see how much the percentages of these actually go ahead and play out. Now, we got less than a minute, so I guess I'm going to go in and change again. I'm almost done with this part, and then you guys can go if you want. Others, you can stick around for other questions. So I'm going to go until it says we're done. But this 69, 17, 17, and -3,